of Barry Lee Fairchild. He's the Arkansas man convicted of killing Marjorie Greta Mason, an Air Force nurse, back in 1983. Fairchild's scheduled to die by lethal injection less than 10 minutes from now. The case has been hotly debated in Arkansas for several reasons, one being that Fairchild is, by most accounts, borderline mentally retarded. The other major allegation is that a racist sheriff and his men rounded up a dozen black men after the murder and beat them all, with only Fairchild confessing to being involved in any way. A dozen years later, that former sheriff is looking forward to tonight's execution. Mel Hanks of station KARK-TV has this report.
Tommy Robinson says it's never really mattered to him whether Barry Lee Fairchild actually pulled the trigger or not. Not after he says that Fairchild raped and sodomized Marjorie Mason.
So he killed her whether he did or didn't. I mean, she would have never been a whole person again.
And what about Robinson's critics who say he beat a confession out of Fairchild and the deputies had to put a bandage on Fairchild's head before this videotaped confession even began?
A bandage on his head, it looks good. But people forgot that he was running away from the police in Russellville dressed up as a woman, and he went in her house and the police dog bit him on the head.
And about tonight's execution?
I'm going to be patiently watching TV tonight, and when he is pronounced dead, it's going to be a good feeling for me, and I'm sure it will for Greta Mason's parents, because the man did it. The facts are undisputed.
In Little Rock, Mel Hanks reporting.
Well, joining us now on the phone from Little Rock is investigative reporter Mel Hanks, who's followed the Fairchild case since 1983. We're just moments away Eastern time for people who are watching this 9 p.m. Eastern version of Rivera Live. You've spoken to Fairchild, have you not, Mel?
Well, it was several years ago during a federal hearing on one of the many court cases involving the allegations of beatings. He never really had much to say and has kind of resigned himself to what's going to happen in about 8 minutes, I guess, from now.
In talking to him, does he strike you as someone who is mentally retarded? How does he seem to be in control of his faculties?
Well, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but just a newsman that's been around a long time. And talking with him would be like talking to any other criminal suspect. He seems to have his faculties about him. He also seemed to have his faculties about him when he testified in his original trial back in Lone Oak County, Arkansas, in 1983.
Which you witnessed?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I mean, there's no doubt in your mind that there's no mental deficiency here.
Well, you know, like I said, as far as my own opinion is concerned, I'm not a trained expert as far as judging when someone is mentally competent or not. But from being at hundreds of trials over 30 years of experience, I would say he was like a lot of suspects who tried to raise a mental issue and it just didn't fly. Despite what a lot of experts had said, you know, this was the battle of the experts really from day one.
Right. I guess his IQ state has been measured anywhere from 60 to 80.
Well, it was measured. The lowest that I remember was at a federal hearing in 1989 at 65.
Mm-hmm. And 65 is the point at which somebody should not be executed in the state of Arkansas.
Right. That's borderline retarded. But the judge threw that out, saying that he was not impressed with the way the test was administered, and he said that the whole test, which with a 65 IQ result, was highly suspect. And keep in mind, this is a federal judge who is known for his liberal leanings and for his bending over to be fair, especially on death row cases like this.
Now, the official measurement, I guess, that they're going with is the 80 IQ by someone who has since lost her job. The person who measured her. The person who measured him at 80 IQ has since been removed from the job.
Right. Well, that was a woman that you're speaking about that did lose her license on a matter unrelated to this case about a year or so later. But other experts that the court has hired, and even that the various defense attorneys have hired over the years, have come in with the early 80s ruling. So that's why I think the federal judge was kind of at a loss at some of this when he had to judge the retardation issue.
Is it the only direct piece of evidence, so to speak, that links Fairchild to this murder, or his own statement?
No, they had the victim's watch was in his possession. Also, the semen tests match the chemicals at the scene, and also hair found.
DNA sampling?
Right, and that was presented to the original jury in 1983, which was a racially mixed jury, black and white. There was a lot of misconceptions. It was an all-white jury, but it was not.
Guy Tucker, the governor, is not inclined to commute, and so moments from now he will be executed.
That's right. That would be politically devastating for Jim Guy Tucker to do that at this time.
Well, he's under indictment for Whitewater right now.
That's right. He has his own problem.
Okay. Mel Hanks, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Certainly will.
Northern bathroom tissue, just 78 cents. Quality. It means your money's worth more at Harvest Foods.
Eyewitness News has learned that Johnny Burnette's killer may have had a romantic dinner and then slept with him before shooting him in the back.
Troubleshooter Mel Hanks has also uncovered exclusive photos taken in the Burnette home during a party held there just 2 days before he died. Here's Mel's special report called Who Killed Johnny Burnette?
Johnny Burnette seemed like a man who had everything to live for. A thriving pool and spa business headquartered in North Little Rock. A plush family condominium on the shores of Lake Hamilton and Hot Springs, where he enjoyed racing his speedboat. A best friend from high school days who lived across the bay.
And he was just a nice, gentle, kind, sharing, and caring type of person.
Not to mention a renewed relationship with his 2 children from his first marriage, his 18-year-old daughter, Heather, and his 14-year-old son, Jason. He was even on friendly terms with her mother, who has since remarried.
It'll be a heart that's been broken and glued back together for the rest of their life. And they miss him terribly.
So who would want him dead?
He was shot in the back. He, was tucked in his bed. And somebody snuck out.
Burnette was a day away from finalizing his divorce from Charmel Bowling Burnette, the spokeswoman for the North Little Rock School District.
Well, certainly, I hope that it's resolved soon.
To understand what might have happened to Burnette, we have to go from his plush home on a canal in Little Rock to his Hot Springs condo, and then back to the house where the body was found. The invitation says Friday, July 17th, the date for a party that Charmel Burnette was throwing to show her anger at Johnny. The place, 2014 Canal Point, a home that Burnette had vacated. Eyewitness News has obtained exclusive photos of that night, complete with party food and a festive hostess, Charmel Burnette, seen here on the far right with a hat. Here she is on the night she married Johnny, a marriage that lasted less than 3 months, a rocky relationship. Late the night of July 17th and the early morning hours of Saturday, Johnny Burnette came back to his house, crashed the party, and, finding the same camera that was used to take this picture, went upstairs to his bedroom, where he took some pictures of his own. His friend in Hot Springs talked with Johnny about that the next day.
And had caught his soon-to-be ex-wife and another person in the house in a compromising situation, took some pictures, and thought that that would be the end of everything.
By the end of everything, meaning the marriage, Johnny thought the incriminating pictures would force the divorce to go his way. Saturday afternoon, back on Lake Hamilton in Hot Springs, Johnny is elated at what happened. He spent the day on the water.
He didn't seem like he had a care in the world. It seemed like things were beginning to resolve as far as the divorce was concerned. He was happier and funnier than I had seen him in a long time.
While in Hot Springs, Johnny got word that his estranged wife, Charmel, was moving out of the Little Rock house.
That was his dream house. And he was so proud of that, and to have somebody else living in it that didn't belong there, I think upset him, but I think he could see the light at the end of the tunnel, that he was going to get his house back.
The next day, Sunday, he called his ex-wife, Carol.
He finally made peace with himself and the fact that he felt like his divorce was going to be final.
It was early evening, Sunday, July 19th, about 36 hours after his violent confrontation in Little Rock. Burnette decides to leave his condo here on Lake Hamilton and go back to Little Rock and his dream house on Canal Point. Later that same night, Burnette was shot once in the back, probably while in bed on the 2nd floor. Police think Burnette knew his attacker and let him or her in.
It's not someone that would just drive up to a neighborhood, knock on the door where there's nothing there.